She didn't want to die. I'm not going to die. She was tied to the cement with the same thick rope that bound her ankles tightly together. She could do this. She could. She quickly shimmied away the rope around her chest, then her fingers went to work. They were clumsy, but it didn't matter. She didn't want to die, and she worked frantically. Surprisingly, she could see in the water, knew it wasn't all that deep because she sensed the moonlight above, and it was enough. She dug her fingernails under the knot and patiently, so patiently, worked it loose. Her chest began to burn. She ignored it, concentrated on the knots. Because she'd been the captain of her swim team in college, because she knew how to control her breathing to maximum effect, she knew her time was running out. The drug she had ingested hadn't helped. She knew she couldn't last much longer. It was so hard to keep her mouth shut, to keep from breathing. Her eyes were blurring, the water shimmering, the pressure in her chest building and building until it nearly burst her open. I'm going to drown. I'm going to drown. The knot came loose. She kicked off the cement block and shot to the surface. When her head cleared, she wanted to haul in a huge gulp of air, but forced herself to take short, quiet breaths through her nose. She had to hold very still, trying not to ripple the water for fear they were still there, staring down at where they had thrown her in, watching for bubbles, waiting until they knew she couldn't still be alive. They'd wait. Oh, yes, they'd wait to make sure they'd erased her. Her brain was in full gear again. She heard the light lapping of water against the pilings of a wooden pier. They'd walked out onto the pier and thrown her out into the water, believing it deep enough. She eased back under the water and swam under the pier to hide behind the pilings. She surfaced very slowly, very quietly, wanting to suck in so much air she'd never run out again, but she only let her face clear the surface. She forced herself to take calm, light breaths. She was alive. Slowly her breaths became deeper and deeper. She filled her lungs. It felt wonderful. She heard voices again, but couldn't understand any words because they were moving away now. Men? Women? She couldn't tell. She only knew there were two of them. She heard feet clomping on the wooden pier, heard a car engine, heard the car drive away. She swam out from under the pier and saw the taillights of a car in the distance. Good. They thought they'd killed her. How had they drugged her? For a moment she couldn't think, couldn't remember, couldn't picture what she had eaten or drunk earlier. She had eaten dinner by herself, in the kitchen. The wine, she thought, the bottle of red on the table that she'd opened. Where had it come from? She didn't know, hadn't paid any attention. She smiled. What none of them had realized was that she'd drunk only a bit of the wine. Any more and she'd be lying dead at the bottom of this lake. No one would know where she was. She'd just be gone. Forever. She pulled herself out of the water, shivered as she slapped her hands against her arms and looked around. There were no houses, no lakeside cottages with narrow docks and tethered boats, only a skinny two-lane road winding off into the distant darkness. She shuddered with cold and shock, but it didn't matter. She was alive. She came upon a sign, Black Rock Lake. Where was Black Rock Lake? It didn't matter. She had two legs that worked fairly well. She began to walk in the same direction as the car. It seemed like forever, but it was maybe only 15 minutes when she saw the lights of a small town, Oranac, Maryland, according to the small black and white sign. It was late. She didn't know exactly how late because her watch had died in the water. She walked through the deserted town, her eyes on a neon sign that beamed out in bright orange, Mel's Diner, all glass so you could see back to the swinging door to the kitchen. Two people sat in a booth next to the glass, a limp waitress standing beside them, a pen poised over her pad. She saw a taxi sitting outside the diner, saw the cabbie at the counter drinking coffee, and she smiled.